Well, thank you very much indeed for joining us for this session where I'm going to be talking with Ada Zhu, who is the Regional Director of EMEA for Alibaba's Fliggy travel platform, and to Natasha Furey, who is the Tour and Groups Manager for the British Museum in the UK. Thank you very much indeed, both of you, for joining us for this session. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, perhaps we can start off by maybe if you could both give a little bit of flavour for who you are, what you've done, and what you're doing at the moment. So maybe we can start with Natasha.
So, as David said, I'm Tours and Groups Manager at the British Museum. So that's dealing with groups that are larger than 10 who go into the museum daily. So this can consist of travel groups, community groups, anyone that's really traveling in a larger group, normally organised by travel companies or some other organisations. So we really want to work on how they interact with the museum and other visitors. And then the other side of that is tours. So we offer a broad program at the museum of different tours in and out of hours, free and charged, to really enhance the learning that people can have when they come to the British Museum. And recently, I've been lucky enough to work with Ada on a live stream last year that we did of the British Museum when we were closed for the Chinese tourists and audience. And then we're walking towards an in-person tours in the future when travel is permitted.
Well, thanks very much indeed. We'll cover much more of that ground a little bit later. Ada.
Yes, thank you, David. I'm based in Paris, and I've been with Alibaba since 2016. So at that time, I was in charge of the development of Tmall for France, and my mission was to support and advise French brands on how to enter the Chinese market and to connect with Chinese consumers. I joined Fliggy team end 2018. And here at Fliggy, a big part of what we do is help the world's greatest cultural institution, from the British Museum, Louvre, Colosseum to the Prado, connect with Chinese tourists.
Well, many people will be familiar with Tmail, but I think a lot of people won't be at all familiar with what Fliggy actually is. So perhaps you can give us a flavour of what the platform is, what's its proposition, and how does it work?
Sure, sure. So Fliggy is a key component of Alibaba ecosystem and is committed to the promotion of Alibaba Group Global Fun initiative. Global fun together with global.
Well, we all like a bit of global fun, so that sounds a great job.
Yes, yes, I love my job. I can say that. The global fun, so together with global buy, global sell, global pay, and global delivery are the 5 core aspects of Alibaba Group globalization strategy. So to answer to your question, Fliggy is a OTP, online travel platform, or OTM, online travel marketplace. So our focus is to enable Chinese consumers and users from various countries who can book in Chinese to book a wide range of global travel goods, enjoying their travel experience from the start to the end. Through Fliggy, consumer can book plane tickets, train tickets, hotels, attractions, ferries, exhibitions, shows, and car rental, restaurant services, and more. So we can say that Fliggy is a one-stop shop for Chinese travelers.
Now, give us a little bit of feel of the scale of how large the platform is.
Yeah, we are working with more than 100,000 partners, and we are working with world major brands, companies like Disneyland, like Marriott, like Club Med, So yeah, we are pretty big in China.
Now, Natasha, for those people who are watching right across the world of this, who might not be that familiar with the British Museum, I'm sure they've heard of it. Can you just give us a little scale about the history, but also the place that the museum has in world culture?
Mm. So the British Museum was the first national public museum in the world for free. So we were open to all curious and studious people was our mission. And that mission has gone forward till today, and our audience has grown and grown, especially since travel has become more accessible to more people. We're a museum of the world, for the world, so we have many galleries with so many different cultures: Egypt, Syria, Africa, China, Japan, Greece, Rome, Syria. It's endless. And then we also have themed galleries about money and enlightenment. So we really do sort of show the breadth of human history and the identity of humans and how we all connect. We are one of the biggest museums for visitor numbers in the world. So we're one of the forefront museums. And it is a staple visit for anyone visiting London or the UK. And it's just getting bigger and bigger as we're continuing to collect for the modern era as well.
Now, clearly you've been a museum for physical visiting. Just give us a little feel of what it's been like at the museum during the COVID pandemic start and sort of where we are now in terms of that process for the museum.
So we were one of the last places in London to close, not just museums, but just businesses. So London became kind of like a ghost town in March 2020. And it was quite eerie in the museum when we started slowing down, like less and less people coming in. And then we had the longest peacetime closure ever. We didn't open until much later that year. And we had to find new ways to interact and engage with our audiences, because for so long, we just dealt with visitors coming in. So we had our blogs, our YouTube channels. We also had our online collection, which had luckily we've been working on revamping it, and we managed to push that through for the just after lockdown, and it now shows the breadth of our collection with so many images, videos, bibliography and information that you can find. So we're just trying to find more and more ways to engage with audiences. And for example, our website, the traffic to the website grew at an alarming rate, really, like 3 times the amount we've ever experienced in like the first month.
That's alarming in a good way, presumably.
Yeah, alarming in a good way. But we just realized that we needed to reach people more and more digitally, and this was going to go on for quite a while. So YouTube channel, we have more videos. We were doing more events online, so Zoom events. So that's all on another channel we have on YouTube. Our podcasts, blog, as I said. So we were trying to reach out more and more. But a lot of things that are digital that we were offering were rather still and or pre-recorded. There wasn't that interaction. Whereas if you were visiting in person, it's all it's all live because you're right there. Whereas everything else most of the stuff we were offering digitally was very still. We had, for example, Google Street View. You could go into the museum and look around, but it was just very still and jilted. It didn't have that feel like you were just there. So that was the difficulty of sort of getting the museum to people digitally without it seeming rather just still and not, we really wanted to gauge, and that was the sort of what we were trying to work on, and that's how we got to the live stream.
Great. Well, maybe Ada can talk and help us understand a little bit about this, which is clearly in the last couple of years, people from China haven't been able to travel and experience all these new destinations and places. How have you on the platform helped the Chinese consumers stay connected to the world over that period of time?
Yeah. Fliggy created this virtual tourism series since the beginning of the pandemic. Like Natasha said, in March 2020, while the first lockdown in Europe, we were trying to find a way to keep the link between Europe and China when everything suddenly stopped. London was ghost town, Paris was a ghost town, so it was the case everywhere in Europe. But how can we keep the link when everything stopped? So by using technology, we have decided to turn away the primary use of live streaming, which is selling and mainly cosmetic products, to the travel industry. And that's how Fliggy decided to live stream over the world and partnered with the world's greatest cultural institution to make Chinese travelers visit virtually without moving from the safety of their home. So we even created mini events like the reproduction of the Carnival of Venice with few partners in Venice. More than 40 performers joined the show. And as you know, the official carnival was cancelled because of COVID. And this reproduction, especially for Fliggy, is also a proof of the importance of Chinese market for the travel destination. So what we know is that Chinese miss a lot international travels. And we can see that through the comments that we have during the live streaming and the questions like, I wish I can be there, or I will be the first person to visit the museum or the city, or something like, I really want to travel again to Europe. And all these comments that we got through the live streaming are so valuable for us, Fliggy, but also for the partner who are working with us on the live streaming, because we are working so hard to make all this live possible.
Now, how important is it for both of you to keep Chinese consumers interested in not only travel but specific cultural hotspots in lots of different countries?
Well, we have about 6 million visitors per year at the museum, and about 300,000 of those are Chinese visitors. So they are a considerable number out of our yearly visitors. We know that Chinese audiences are really interested in arts and culture anyway, but it's just keeping that link going, and maybe also introducing the museum to people who might not know about it or might not have thought to travel to London, having that experience to see it. But we know that the Chinese audience do love arts and cultures, and we've seen that through our work with Tmall and our touring exhibitions that we have in China. So they are greatly interested in what the British Museum can bring in regards to culture and arts.
And from your position at Alibaba, I mean, what was your thinking? Where does the ideas come from to keep foreign travel and also cultural institutions top of mind with Chinese consumers, even if they weren't able to get there physically, and indeed still can't get there physically?
Yeah. We think about culture and because I'm taking care of Europe for Fliggy. So when we are talking about Europe, culture, art, and is part of culture, Europe heritage. So when Chinese travelers is coming to visit Europe, the most important POIs, point of interest for them, are museums. And that's why the museum comes to top of mind for us from the team when we are thinking about a live streaming series. So that's why when we say, how can we keep the link between Europe and China? So as I said, using technology, using live streaming, and the topic of the live streaming is to highlight Europe, and what can resume the best Europe, it's art. So that's why we contacted British Museum, we contacted Louvre, and we have partnered with Europe top POIs and museum for the live streaming.
Now, before we turn our attention to the plans over the this 11/11 period, perhaps, Natasha, you can tell us a little bit about what you did with the platform last year with the museum.
Mm-hmm. So at that time, there was many people were furloughed at the museum, so we had a very small team that was still sort of operational and working. So it was mainly myself, Roderick, who's the commercial director, and Yuman, who works in our digital division. And we just worked from what we had already from our in-person tours, our audio tours. And worked towards creating a journey that we thought the Chinese consumers would really enjoy, and working with Ada to find sort of work out what was best. It was an amazing experience, 2 hours, and they seemed to really enjoy the comments. Yuman was telling me like some of the comments were just so lovely and so interesting with the museum, and it was just a great experience. And
so
it
explain a little bit about how it worked. What was the user experience?
So we used a mobile phone on a sort of tripod type equipment, and Yuman was holding it, and I was sort of guiding the visitor through the screen. It was all very personal and intimate. It wasn't like a proper filming equipment studio, nothing like that. There wasn't lighting. It was just what the museum had on the spot, and I gave the real impression that you were right there with them. They were right there with us from their sofas at home, because they're watching on their own mobile phones. And we created a journey through that sort of highlighted objects throughout the museum. So we went through room by room. It was a full museum tour. We didn't go to every single room, but we went to all the highlights. So the Rosetta Stone, the Parthenon, the mummies, which was a great highlight for the audience. They really enjoyed that because they were very golden.
I think one of the interesting things about the whole concept of live streaming is it's earthy, it's raw, it's not pre-produced. Do you think that actually, when you look at it, that's something that we're going to continue with? That, as you say, getting close and personal with the various objects, as opposed to necessarily, a feature film type production values.
Yes, I mean, I do think there'll probably be a combination. Potentially, there'll be some that are much more relaxed and personal, and then maybe some that are much more produced. I suppose also, depending on how much time you have to prepare for it all, would also help. But having a live stream where you can maybe also read the comments and answer things, or react to what they're saying. So for example, noise level, like how they could hear us, we'd get messages saying, oh, you could speak a bit slower or louder, so you'd be able to react to what they
I mean, that's a very important sort of element, isn't it, of the whole live streaming process. It's not a sort of a one-way dialogue. It's very much a two-way dialogue, and I presume that from the Fliggy platform is something that Chinese consumers really valued, to be able to have that interaction.
The interaction is a very important part of a live streaming. That's give all the life to this live streaming. Like Natasha said, Chinese consumer can say, oh, can you speak louder? We can't hear you well, but they can ask you a lot of questions also during this live streaming, because this interaction is all the add value of a live streaming. And sometimes you can design, a route, and then this route can be changed during a live streaming, because viewers are asking you questions because they want to have a close-up on a painting or in a sculpture, they ask you more question on one place that you are going and you don't have time to finish your route, or sometimes you just change your route because you can see there's more attraction on a certain topic that you didn't really want to cover, you know, and you understand that you need to detail more this topic. So this interaction is very valuable, and this is very different of a reportage that you can watch on a TV, for example. Yeah.
Now, let's turn our attention to the 11/11 period we're in at the moment. So, what are you both up to?
Fliggy is collaborating with various world famous institutions since last year, and one of our great achievements is this long-term partnership collaboration with British Museum. Together, we co-designed, thanks to Natasha, 3 tours in Chinese, especially for Fliggy, and every tour will be led by a blue badge guide. And we are happy to announce that this product will be launched for 11/11 this year. And during the shopping festival, Chinese consumer will be able to buy these tours without any worries, as the tour don't expire for 3 years. And Fliggy is also very proud of the fact that it's the first time for British Museum of publicly offering a semi-private tour of artifacts. So if Natasha, you want to add more on, on this, with pleasure.
Yeah. So after the live stream, we realized that we did want to work more with Fliggy. Working with Ada has really been delightful. And we knew that eventually the pandemic is going to come to the end and travel is going to resume, however slowly that may be, or however phased. And while we do want to, continue offering digital resources and content, the in-person tours, it's just a wonderful way to see the museum, and working with Fliggy is a way to reach so many Chinese consumers. Previously, we only have tours in English, so they'd have to have a good grasp of English as their second language to go on a tour, or they could do a private tour through someone else. But by partnering with us, we can offer to Chinese consumers a British Museum tour with a British Museum affiliated guide, blue badge guides. And we're designing the content, we're designing the routes, so we're giving them something that we haven't been able to offer before. And as part of the museum's mission, a museum of the world for the world, we want to bring more and more content that's more accessible for more people.
How difficult or easy was it to get this idea and this concept through the British Museum, the people that you work for? In a sense, it's been an interesting journey, hasn't it, from being a physical museum to a virtual museum, and now a hybrid, I suppose, going forward.
Yes. It hasn't been any issues. We've been working towards this for over a year now, but just because the legal parts of that can be a bit more trickier. But the tour content that Ada and I have been working on has been consistent. It was sort of discussed with our commercial director from pretty much soon after the live stream. We had some meetings to discuss the steps forward for our sort of future working relationship. So there's no difficulty in creating these tours. The museum's forever wanting to enhance its public program. It's something that we're always working towards. Anytime new ideas or new routes that we can do, we want to go down. And this just offers a great opportunity to make these tours available to the most amount of people possible.
Now, what is Fliggy hoping to learn from these experiences and then sort of develop forward for the future?
You're asking me?
Yeah.
Yes, it's I think each live streaming is a kind of challenge for both parties, for the partner and for us, because I think museums are not very familiar with live streaming and the impact of a live streaming can be in China. So it's a new technology, a new tool for them. So I think the key of the success of our series, because we made few live streaming, is the communication between the partner and us. Everything, the concept must be explained very well to a partner, and they need to understand all the ins and outs of the project to really get involved in the project. And once that's done, it's of course easier. But the main difficulties that I had is the impossibility for me to take a plane of a Eurostar and to get myself to London and, for example, for British Museum, and to be there on site to support them. Yes, this was also part of the difficulty of doing a live streaming, but it was okay because we learn, we adapt ourselves, and we learn a lot by working, a lot on the preparation of live streaming, of the details. We spend time to discuss about the routes, how we are going to put this highlight first, this second highlight, then everything, every details is discussed in advance and by video conference like now. So yeah, I've been working with Natasha since last year, and I never see her physically in person yet.
Well, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Natasha, what have been your key learnings from the experience? And I suppose what do you hope to learn from the 11/11 activity that you're doing together?
So I'll split it into two. So what I learned from the live stream, one, the museum wasn't built for broadcast when it was originally built. I don't think they realised that Wi-Fi needed to be a thing. So that was an issue. So learning about the capabilities of the building and learning what people are interested in a live stream. We have the obvious things like Egypt, mummies, but then you'll learn things about people see something and they're suddenly really interested. Ada mentioned to me the watches and clocks, and that was something of real interest, and that wasn't something that I thought of originally, but it makes sense because they are stunning, but it's not something that's obvious to what we're used to. So that's lovely to learn about new things that people are really interested in, so you can cater to that. Working together also really helps with that. If we just used our knowledge and hadn't listened to Ada or Fliggy, then it might not have been as good as it was. And then with this 11/11, it's just going to be a great learning experience of how the museum works as a tourism destination. Obviously, it's a cultural institution, but it is a staple for any visitor to London, especially for the Chinese tourist. And I think by engaging more and more on a tourist market, I think will really we'll learn so much more about tourism and the museum's place in that, not just in the culture and arts world.
A final thought to you, Ada, which is many people will be watching this from right over the world. What thoughts would you give them if they said, well, actually, I really do need to look at my organisation, my cultural organisation, my business, or whatever, and keep it top of mind with Chinese consumers, so that when the travel restrictions end, which we all hope will happen very soon, the Chinese consumers haven't forgotten about us?
Yeah, I think that a lot of cultural institutions need to think about the digitalization, and live streaming is one part of being digital. It's not everything. So you have so many elements that you can use to be on the top of mind of Chinese tourists. But if you are doing, if the cultural institution is doing live streaming already on Chinese platforms, for example, with Fliggy, is already a good step for them to be in the top of mind of the Chinese tourist. And I think the live streaming is only a first step in a collaboration with a partner. For example, with British Museum, we started with a live streaming last year. And our second step is this collaboration of a co-design tour. This is new product for British Museum and also for us. And we hope that through the partnership and this 11/11 event, we will be selling this product for 11/11 this year, and we hope that it will give us and also to British Museum insight into when consumers think they will be travel physically again to the destination, and this is a confidence indicator which is very important, and this is very important for travel industry too.
Well, it's been a pleasure and delight talking to you. I'm afraid we have to stop here, although we could continue this conversation for much longer. But Ada Zhu, the Regional Director of EMEA for Alibaba Group's travel platform, Fliggy, and Natasha Furey, the Tour and Group Manager for the British Museum. Thank you very much indeed for joining us and for sharing your insights. It's been a pleasure and delight. Much appreciated. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. Thank you.